Hello, welcome to Studio Pixel. This is the fourth lesson of Basics of Maya, and in this video we are going to discuss about how to create models in Maya through curves. Now I have already said earlier that conventional modeling techniques are uh, like sculpting or even polygon modeling are the most used technique, but in my opinion, there are certain things, certain models which can be achieved way more easily if you have the knowledge of other techniques like modeling through curves also. Like as an example, the in the screen you can see there's a wine glass shape, which yes, you can achieve via conventional polymodeling like extrude around, which I'm going to discuss about in the next lesson. But this can be done very easily if you know the curve based modeling. So this lesson is we will be discussing about the curve based ways where we can create different models. Now what I'm going to do is first I'm going to introduce you to the curves and how to edit them, and then I will show you how to create this particular kind of models. So let's start with. Okay, so if you go to create menu and go to curve tools, you can see a bunch of options are out there. One is CV curve tool, EP curve tool, Bezier curve tool, pencil curve tool, 3-point circular arc, 2-point circular arc. Now the last two are very specific in their use. By if you want to create some circular arcs, which is otherwise a little bit of difficult for creation. But apart from these three, the pencil curve tools are like a free flow, like the pencil, the name suggests. Now the major tools that you can get is the CV, EP, and Bezier curve tool. Now if you ask me, to be very honestly, there is actually no difference between CV, EP, and Bezier curve tool, because their construction methods are different, but the output or the outcome curve are actually the same. In fact, you can get uh, all the options that you want on the sub-object level also. Let me show you what I'm trying to actually explain over here. Now if you take, let's start with CV curve tool first. Now click on the CV curve tool and just click randomly on your viewport, and you can see the curve has been created with the help of certain points over uh, which is outside that particular curve. Now to completion of this action you have to hit enter, and you can get your curve uh, created. You can see this is absolutely aligned with the viewport, the 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 viewport. And similarly, if you go to EP curve tool, I'm just resetting the options. Why I'm resetting the options, this is very interesting, that I will show you, which will make you understand that why these three tools are actually the same. Now if you create, you can see that the same curve is getting created, but this time the points are on the curve itself. They are not outside the curve like the CV. Now why this? And the moment you hit enter, you will get again the same curve. Now the thing is, uh, both of these now are in the same both of them are actually same. Only this construction or creation type is different. Like when you are using CV curve tool, you can use the outside of that particular line, and when you are creating through EP curve tool, they are on top of that particular curve. So you can have your choice while creating uh, the the curve. But as I said earlier, that both of them are actually equal. How can I say that? Is if you right click on a particular curve, you can see that there are majorly four options. One is hull, edit point, control vertex, and curve points. Now right click on the other one, you can get the same thing. Now here is the catch. Now you can see that if I select both of them, and you can use control vertex, you can have the control vertex of both of the curves. Whereas if you right click on and say edit point, you can have the edit point of both of the curves. Now here is the catch. Edit point is the EP is the abbreviation of the edit point, and CV is the abbreviation of control vertex. So both of these are actually same, it's just the construction methods. Now I have already said that the Bezier curve tool is also kind of the same, which I'll explain a little later on. First let me show you how the Bezier curve tool actually works. So let me just delete them, and let's say Bezier curve tool. It's exactly like the curve tool that which you guys must have used in Photoshop, like path or pen tool, or if you have used any other graphic software like CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator, you can use you must have been used over there also. So it's like click and drag, and you can have these handles over there, the Bezier handles, and you can have your curve. Now this is something which if you right click, you can see that this is a little bit of different, because this is now having control vertex over here, and I have my Bezier handles to control them. Now this is really interesting for in Maya, which earlier version, I think it's introduced later of around 2014-15 version. Earlier that this option was not there. So this is quite easily to manipulate the shape of that particular curve, and you can easily get your required or desired shape more precisely than the CV or the EP calculations. Now you remember that I have told you that all the three options are actually pretty same. I mean, you can convert this CP or EP curve tool into the Bezier curve tool, and let me show you how we can do. Right click and go to the object mode. This is my sub-object level. We are going to use the sub-object level more often in a polygon modeling, but yes, this is something where you can edit your object in a construction level. Okay, now I'll get back to my Bezier curve options, but let me show you why CP and EV curve tool also can be used as a Bezier curve tool. Right click, object mode, delete this, and go to the CV curve tool toolbox options. Now in the toolbox option, you can see the curve degree options are out there. The first one is a linear, where you can have no curvature in your curve. So if you want to get a sharp edge in this in your curve, this is the option that you need to avail while creating your curves. Now this is something really have to understand, that you cannot make them once you have created. This is really important, that once you have created, you cannot convert the curve degree to one linear unless, in my opinion, if you sorry, my object mode. Okay, so now unless if you are creating them in Bezier options. So how can you do that? Let me show you. So first of all, let's stick to the point that I'm going to use one linear, or if you choose two. Now how the construction works is 1, 2, from the third one you will get your curve. If you go to the 3 cubic option, which is another one, the third option, 1, 2, 3, then the fourth one. So from the fourth one you will start to having your curve. Now this is the way how Bezier, the control vertex CP curve or EP curve works. Now I'm going to use other options like 5 or 7 also, and that will result the same. But if you use 3 Bezier, now this is where things get way more interesting. Now if you click on this, now you see after 3, the fourth point, the curve has started to uh, appear. Now if you remember that when I hit my first click, it's get a calculation from my origin, remember? So I can have this curve, the same curve. Okay, again I'm going to use the same 3 Bezier. Now when I first click, you can see this is there is an imaginary line that's been calculating, and then after that the third one, sorry, the fourth one, as it is a 3 Bezier, the fourth one I'm getting my curve, and after that, that's it. So what's the special about this one? If I right click on this particular curve, now you can see you don't get CV or EP, or I mean the control vertex or edit point, like this particular curve, like control vertex and edit points are out there. The reason is that this one is actually been created through the 3 Bezier curve degree options in the same CV curve tool. So I have actually converted my curve to the Bezier curve tool, uh, like the same as the Bezier curve tool would have been created. Now let me show you the Bezier curve tool option box. Now this is something really interesting. Now if you now, I won't suggest you to change the basic settings. That's because you can change all of these options later on whenever you are in edit mode of that particular curve. So let me reset the tool again, and let's start creating a particular uh, curve. Okay, now why I say the Bezier curve tool is actually way more stronger than the earlier two one, because I can mix it up my pointy curves as well as the curvature ones. So here I have done something like this by using Bezier curve. One click, then if I just click, if I don't click and drag my points, that particular part will not become a curved one. So click on that again. I haven't dragged it, so it cannot be a curvature one. Now if I on my next click, if I click and drag, you can see that has been creating the curvature, and then I can hit it and hit enter to end of this curve. Now here you can see if I right click on over it, I can get the control vertex over there. Now let's try to edit them. Now how can I edit these particular things? So first of all, you can edit by selecting or dragging this Bezier handles, and as we do in the other vector based softwares like the vector based applications, like you can use in you can get a similar sort of thing in Photoshop's pen tool, which is it can give you a vector curve, as well as the other graphic softwares like CorelDRAW and Illustrator, as I said earlier. So it's the same thing. Now you can have your Bezier handle, you can drag them, and you can change the curvature amount from here. Now well, let's suppose I have created this portion as a curved one, but honestly speaking, I don't want this curved one. I want this one as a curved one, and this particular point as a pointy one. So what can I do right now? So what I have to do is right click and shift and right click by selecting this particular curve, and you can have your three options. One is corner, one is Bezier, one is a Bezier corner. What is the difference between? So Bezier is the one which is right now we are having. So this is where you can have all these handles and all. Now right click, and if you transfer them to corner, it will lost its handles. Now you can say, you know what, that's fine, I can convert this one into Bezier, or but I want this to be having that corner, but I don't want to lose my Bezier handles. So for that we have to use Bezier corner. So shift right click and you just drag that on Bezier corner. So what you're going to get is you can get your handles over there. So that way you can have much more complex shapes, right, like this, while creating this particular by using these curves. Now the the problem is that you have already break this particular influence of the from this particular point, from this you have break the influence of this Bezier handle. Now you can have them together. I said, you know what, I want to be this the other part of the Bezier handle should be also be influenced by this one. So what I can do is select this other half, right click by shift, press shift and right click, and you can see there are 4 other options coming in. So this is really getting a little complex, but this is a tangent handle based calculation, or tangent level editing, you can say. So one is a smooth corner, smooth anchor tangents. Now the moment you will do that, you will get your other side also be followed exactly like the same. So what will happen, it will match the curvature which we have on the other side. So that is one option. The other option is break anchor tangents. Now what will happen is it's never going to, it's what happened earlier, that I have this, I have converted this into a smooth one, a smooth Bezier, and now I have to break the tangents. I don't want it, to be influenced by the other one. So I want a smoother version. One side smooth and another side is pointy. So that can be achieved through this, or else you can go with even anchor tangents. Now what is the even anchor tangents do? Even anchor tangents actually do is like how much I'm increasing the distance from the anchor, from the tangents, the other side of my handle will also follow this. Now this is really interesting, why I want this to happen. Now sometimes it might happen this is the curvature that I need on one side, the other side I don't want to be influenced by the curvature. So what can I do is by shift and right click, I use uneven anchor tangents. So what we will do is I can increase, whereas they are connected, we are not making it as a corner one, but I'm reducing the curvature amount of one side of this particular point. So these are the very interesting ones which is not influence the other side of the tangents. This is really interesting because I might have I have a requirement that where my curvature will be way sharper than the other side of it. So if I have it as an even anchor, so what will happen, both the sides will get affected by editing one side of the tangent. So it's a both side manipulation, but I want a sharper side, a sharper edge on sharper curvature on one hand, and the other hand should be way more bigger. So what can I do is I can use the uneven anchor tangents and we can just increase the curvature amount, whereas the connection will be still there. So this is really interesting, and it's very important while we are creating certain shapes, like maybe a bottle or maybe a wine glass or something. And yeah, this will be very helpful at that. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a wine glass, as I have showed you earlier in the starting of this chapter or this video, and let's uh, see how we can achieve that. Now go to the side view and I'm going to use Bezier Curve tool, which I usually create. Earlier I used to use the CV curve tool. I mean, it's up to you. It's not a big deal which curve actually you are using. So click and drag. You can use backspace if you don't like that position of your point which you have created, which is a very good thing sometime to do. Click and drag, click and drag. Remember that you can anyway change it afterwards. I'm just giving a very sorry. Cool. Hit enter, and so this is something which we can now edit by clicking all the vertex points or the Bezier points. Cool. Now if you go to the perspective view, you can see this is the shape that you have created. Now how can we convert into a three-dimensional shape, because this is just a two-dimensional one? Now for that you have to go to the modeling section, and under the surface there are a lot of options that are out there. By the way, there are a lot of things out there for creating the surfaces and all, but I'm not going to discuss all of them because there are very less number of people who still use the NURBS process for creating modeling, conventional modeling technique. And NURBS is something which absolutely mathematical based, though it's super light. I mean, I have to say, I mean, your render time will be way more less than the other surface calculations, but NURBS is pretty complex in terms of editing. So editing a NURBS surface is really pain, and earlier time it was really difficult for us to create the NURBS surface. Now when I have started my career, the NURBS technique was still there in very earlier stage of 2000, and people used to still create a NURBS surface based modeling, but they are slowly shifting to the polygonal modeling. In Maya, there was another modeling technique called sub D modeling technique, which was now obsolete, and they have removed it from Maya. So those techniques were used. I mean, people use a lot of NURBS techniques, and but I found they were really complex and really inconvenient to edit. So that's why I think later on people has been shifted to polygon when the polygon came, and the polygon technique has been really fast and convenient enough to create your desired shapes. Now NURBS, I would like to tell you that NURBS is an abbreviation. It's a short form of non-uniform rational B-spline or basis spline. This is an absolutely mathematical calculation. You can search it if you want to dig into more, but that's for sake of the knowledge, and I would recommend you to go too much into the NURBS modeling, though it's absolutely will be your choice to to decide. But as the conventional modeling technique has been changed, that people are more into tend to the modeling polymodeling technique. So I would rather suggest you to first grasp those parts, and then you can search for the other areas. Okay, so now what I'm going to use is, it's called revolve. Now this is something which might be you can get if you are already learned some other softwares like Blender or 3ds Max, then you have already seen this as revolve or lathe option in other 3D applications. Now go back to the revolve options, just hit reset settings. I'm just using very default settings. What are all these things I'm going to use that I'm going to explain you shortly. So if you hit revolve, you can have my shape over easily. I mean, you can have his shape. The reason is that now let's get back to the option in a quick uh, time. So my axis is going to be preset. So what is actually is happening is it's revolving on around the y-axis. So if I hit z-axis, that will be a chaos, because that will create around this particular z-axis. So this is really important, that which axis you want to create. You have to predefine this particular axis, otherwise it can be messy. That's why I said Nerves techniques is actually mathematical based, and you have to be very careful. If you change something earlier in the starting phase, it can be result into a very disastrous output. So be very careful about it. So if you have to use y axis as an axis preset, and if you use, now why this thing actually coming as a black is it's about a normals of the surface. Now what are the normals of the surface? Normals are the direction of the surface in 3D geometry. Now I will going to discuss about the normals in the texturing sections or the shading sections majorly, but I'll give you a heads up over here. Normals are the one where which surface is actually directing towards. So if you feel or if you see any of your object is coming, or a particular portion of your object is coming black, that means that portions the normal of those portions has been flipped from its surface. So you have to just remember it for for future incidents. So where I can rectify this, go to the surface, and the last option is a reverse direction. If you reverse the direction, you can see your shading is now clean, and you can see your object in a shaded view. So now I have got my shape created. Okay, so but this is a nerves surface, as I've already told you how it is actually working. If you go to the revolve option from the in the attribute editor, and you can, if you decrease the start and end sweep, you can see how this has been calculated. Getting my see? So this is actually revolving and creating the surface around the y-axis, exactly how it has been told in the option box of the revolve option. Now what if I just delete this and select this one and go to Z as an axis preset and hit revolve? Now it's actually showing again. I have to use the reverse direction. So again, so what is happening over here is also the same. If you reduce the number of, so it is actually getting revolved around the Z axis. So and it's creating the surface around the axis that we have told them. So you have to be very careful of before you change your axis preset. Okay, so this can be very handy while creating some mechanical models in which can be used in engineering and all. So yeah, so be very careful about while using this revolve option. Cool, great. So let me show you another example where we can create this particular shape, or a particular shape which can be useful for us in our sorry, in our projects. Okay, let's suppose, oh, oh, control vertex. Great. So I have created this bottle like shape. Now the problem is I forgot to create an opening of that particular bottle. So where we can put the liquid, or the liquid will come out or something like that. I forgot to create that. But hang on, I have other options to, to change this shape. Now it might happen that, I cannot change this, but this is the optimum amount of number of points I have used to create this particular shape. Now how can you add more points over here? That is the most important point where we can face after creating some certain things. So what you can do is you can go to the curve option and you can use this insert knot. But the problem is that insert knot tool is, how can Maya will understand? Because if you select, click on the insert knot option, you can say the no valid selection, select curve points or surface isopalms. Now isopalms is all related to nerves, so I'm not going to get into deep inside the isopalm description, but the curve point is something which is really important, because we have already seen curve point, if you have noticed very properly. So if you right click on the curve, you can have this curve point option on every curve that we have created, whether it's being in control vertex or EP curve tool or CV curve tool or Bezier. You will have this curve point because all of these are actually having the same basic structure. So go to curve point and click on that particular point, and then go to curves and go to insert knot, and your insert knot has been created. So right click on the control vertex and you can see this knot has been created. Earlier it was not there. So what I can do is I can click and drag this inside of this object. Now yes, this is not something which was actually intended, but the problem is that I don't have that many number of curves. At least I need 2 to 3 curves over here. So what we can do is right click, go to curve point. Now what we have to do is one, then press shift for the multiple creation and hit 3 curve point, and then go to curves and say insert knot. Right click, control vertex, and you can have your, remember here is something which you can see that I want my handles to be controlled in a very nicer way from both the sides. This is messed up. Anyway, no problem. Cool. Okay. It doesn't necessary that I have to do all these details. It's up to you, because I'm not going to see through unless I'm going to use a glass material, which is again really important. So earlier you remember when you created the wine glass, we have already created the double line so that we don't have to worry about the thickness and all. So here also, if we have done that, you can have that shape accordingly. Right now I think it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so what you can do is, now go to object model object mode, and you can have this. So this is a very non-destructive way of creating a model. But the problem is this output is actually came as a NURBS. Now why I'm saying this, because I know it. Okay. Anyway, so while we're creating this revolve, remember the options, those are very interesting. I have kept them as a default one. So by default, the output becomes NURBS. If you go to edit and reset settings, you can see the output geometry comes as NURBS. Later on, I have to decide whether I want the output as a NURBS or polygon. I never used Bezier, so I'm just avoiding this one. Okay, so select this, delete it, select your curve. Now I want my polygonal output from here, and here if you hit revolve, but before that I would like to change it to the quads, and I want to set my count as, let's suppose, 500. Now what is this quads and counts, that you will get to know in the very next lesson, because that's where we are going to jump inside the polygon and know whatever the polygonal techniques that we are going to use in the future modelings that is coming up. So revolve, and you can see it's again come black because my surface normals are actually been reversed. So now if you see this, this is actually not the type that we have already created earlier. If we select this, let's go to revolve and go to nerve, revolve, right, and just reverse this direction, go to surface, revolve, geometry, quads and counts, let's say 1000. Now if you see, now both of them are not same. It's a quadratic surface, but these are way smoother than this one, right? See this? But actually, I mean, all of the reason behind this I will explain you in the next video. But this is not the same surface. These are absolutely different one. But the problem is, the good thing is that we can get whatever kind of surface that we want. If you hit 3, you can get a smoother version of the polygon itself. First of all, let me change this polygon into from black to the where is the option? Okay, yes, reverse. Oops, sorry. Yeah, okay. So now as you can see that reversing from the surface will not gonna work because this was a polygonal geometry. Now so the good thing is I can get a polygonal geometry out of my curve settings, even even I can manipulate them while retaining all the options. So you can see that though it's a polygonal output, the influence of this curve is still on this particular object. So it's still non-destructive. It's not like that I have to create a nerve surface and then I have to convert it to the polygons to achieve the polygon. You can have the polygonal output from here also. So this is all about the curve based modeling. I would recommend you to practice out a lot of different shapes like I have already created earlier, like symmetrical type of shape like this, the bottle or the wine glass, and sort of things, or maybe pottery or something like that, so that you can get a hand of this particular technique, and it will help you out in achieving certain models. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much, and let's go to the next chapter for the details of the polygons and how to edit them. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.